Hello, everybody. This is Francesco Rulli. Today, I'm here with Thomas Doescher, who is a Workday consultant at Cognitive, and also an MS Master of Science graduate student from NYU. That's how actually we met with Thomas. Referring to a project that he was developing. So, Thomas, if you can give us a little bit more insight about your professional and your education progress.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just finished my graduate program at NYU, the Master's of Science in People Analytics and Technology. Fairly new program. I think that this graduating cohort was either the second or third, but really, quickly that program's gaining a lot of steam, a lot of new students, and it was exciting. Spent a year in that program, did it full time while working, and um, as you've already mentioned, I'm a Workday consultant for a company called Knognitiv Incorporated here in Boston, where I live. I mainly focus on the HCM side of Workday. So Workday being a ERP platform with finance and payroll, I work on the HR side. And so chatbots are becoming increasingly popular. There's one that Workday has rolled out that they're referring to as their Workday HR assistant. And many companies still choose to do something more customizable and kind of have their own chatbot plugin. So I was really interested to learn about this, to learn about how I could help companies kind of scale their HR support through technology. And wasn't disappointed. So we were tasked with the project of bringing, specifically for our team, learning and development and offboarding to a theoretical company called FutureCo, and bringing that L&D and offboarding to Mars. So FutureCo's mission in this case study was to establish and colonize Mars, and our job was to think about how we could create learning and development and transition, so offboarding processes that would best support this workforce. And so it was very conceptual, theoretical. Purpose of doing something out of this planet would be to just think outside the box, right? To come up with processes that don't follow the norms that we have today. Hopefully that covers, really provide some context about myself and what we were doing in this class. Yeah.
Definitely. So how was working with building the conversational artificial intelligence, the chatbot itself? And is there something you can probably show us of how you guys did the interpretation of this venture of bringing hundreds of employees to colonize Mars, and which is very timely with what is happening in the real world of so many corporations to bringing people to space on commercial flights, but this is actually looking even farther. So,
yeah. So, like many projects that I've been on recently, most of the time that was spent in building this prototype, this MVP, was spent up front. It was in the discovery phase. It was in us doing our own research as students to figure out what a chatbot should be. The actual process of putting together the chatbot and configuring it was very quick, to be honest, compared to the amount of time we spent up front talking about how should this artificial intelligence, how should this chatbot interact, and how do we want our clients or our employees to interact with the chatbot. So that's where we spent most of our time. We had some really interesting discussions around whether or not to, in our prototype, use a lot of like Boolean conditions, a lot of yes, no, or if we wanted to try to allow more flexibility in responses and kind of be a little bit more conversational. The give and take was, a Boolean yes or no, or maybe like a very small list of questions would help us define the process better and, kind of like limit the scope of our project, but something that might have, more selections, or even free text would maybe allow for a little bit more conversation. So we spent a lot of our time there. Happy to show you part of what we developed. And I do want to make sure that recognizing the other teammates I worked with, Mona Lisa, Patrick, Jazz, in that class, and they all did a great amount of work on this as well.
Fantastic.
Especially Mona Lisa.
Yeah, I like your graphic choice of using the older style 1980s, 90s, CTR. And so you open first checking on the sentiment of the employee, which is very interesting, because I think the evolution of using artificial intelligence is also to understand people sentiment and emotion, and then build the conversation from there. And this is the back end of how you build the conversational artificial intelligence. Oh, okay, so. Yeah, there is one thing we could have provided you maybe access to put the buttons for, there are different buttons that can be programmed on the side of the chatbot.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I saw, yeah. Oh, sometimes I lose your audio. Can you repeat? No, no audio now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, better.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Lost audio there for a second. Yeah, I wasn't able to pull through the audio on the video there, but I hope that at least gave a little bit of insight into
yeah, definitely
what we're trying to build. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it possible for you to share with me how the chatbot looks from the back end in a smaller version?
Yeah, let's see.
Interesting to see the.
So like how it looks like when you're configuring this. And
yeah, if it's smaller so that whoever is watching this video can appreciate the dimensions. Oh, you just click here on the left. Yeah, perfect. And yeah, the tree, conversational tree.
So and this is the map of that tree.
Yeah. And eventually the evolution of this is also to plug in a natural language understanding features to a product like this, which was very wise and well designed. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. All right, so it's very interesting. So I hope that the university will continue to develop further from where you guys left it off. All right.
Right. Yeah, and I think for most of us in the class, our takeaway was not only the bit that we learned about how to create a chatbot or just like how they work, but the confidence that we had at the end of it to know that, okay, given more time and given more practice of this, we could create our own chatbots, right? Maybe not, we're not ready to create a tool like Querlo, like you and your company have, but we can use the tool, we can create our own applications. And so that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's exactly the purpose of Querlo, is actually to be an assembly line for different cognitive services to simplify the process like you guys have done. Yeah. So Thomas, thank you very much for your interview. This is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.